Hey, good day, everybody. Welcome back to our Zoom Daily with Rabbi Shlomo Schwartz to a realistic map of meaning. He's going over some wonderful material. We had to miss yesterday because the rabbi had a board meeting he had to attend, and we have to work with his schedule, and we all got responsibilities. So we're glad to be with him tonight. So let's just jump right in. Shalom, Rabbi. I'm going to turn the class over to you and let you take it from here.
Thank you, Dan. Good evening, you and Rabbi and everybody else out there in, is it La La Land or CRT Screen Land, whatever. So I'm going to share the screen. Oops, you got to leave me. You got to enable me to do that. Okay, there you go. And we are in Simon 7, I believe. And we're just starting this. And this is, as I announced that we're going to talk about gratitude blessings. This is an interesting thing. This is the seventh chapter in the waking up in the morning series of everyday series of Shulchan Aruch, and he says he starts out by saying every day when visiting the facilities, whether urination or defecation, bless Asher Yotzar, which means who has formed. That's the first words of the blessing. And not al netilat yadayim, which is the words that mean concerning the washing of the hands. Even if one wants to learn to pray immediately after you go to the washroom, if you come out, still you do not say that blessing on washing the hands, just the one on having gone there. To which the Ramah adds, if one has dirty hands because he soiled them, even in such a case, one should not recite the blessing al netilat yadayim concerning the washing of the hands. He gets that from somewhere else. Now, we haven't mentioned the text of this blessing, have we? I'm going to read it out loud. Read the English. I say it off by heart. In Hebrew all the time. I probably trip over myself if I try to say it in English. So it reads like this: Blessed are you, Hashem, our Lord, King of the universe, as the beginning of every blessing, who fashioned man with wisdom and created within him many openings and many cavities. It is obvious and known before your throne of glory that if but one of them were to be ruptured, or but one of them were to be blocked, it would be impossible to survive and to stand before you. Blessed are you, Hashem, who heals all flesh and acts wondrously. So that's acknowledging the miracle of the body and how it works. And they're still studying it. So my comment on this is that this rule teaches us a difference between the choices made for us by God and the choices we make for ourselves. Now, before I go further, I'm going to point out again that what he said was that after you're finished in the facilities, you make this blessing about the wonders of the body, but not for washing the hands. You do wash the hands coming out. You always wash the hands coming out of the washroom. As I say that, I'm reminded of a survey they once did. They asked everybody, do you wash your hands when you leave the washroom? Everybody said they do, and then they took a video, and most people don't. But you should. Even as the Ramah says, even if you haven't dirtied your hands, you should still wash them because of the possibility. But you don't make a blessing on that washing. So the difference between the choices made for us by God and the choices we make for ourselves, both eating and eliminating waste, reflects divine choices about the way we are made. So we must also always acknowledge the divine component of our makeup, and therefore we make a blessing on the eating and eliminating waste. That we, thanking God for the food, thanking God for the wonders of the body. And so because of that, we make the blessing Asher Yotzar, who formed man. However, washing our hands reflects in part our choice to stay clean. See the next paragraph for why no blessing is made. Here he just says you don't make the blessing. So the next paragraph says, Shulchan Aruch, one who passes urine or does not soil his hands, even though the recital of Asher Yotzer who is formed is necessary, the hand washing itself is only needed for cleanliness hygiene and or because of the notion of hikon, prepare, as in prepare to meet your God, O Israel. It's a verse in Amos. So preparation for the proper prayer mindset. And therefore, we wash the hands to prepare ourselves, but we don't have to, we're just cleaning ourselves, getting ourselves ready. So my comment is this reminds us of all the reasons given earlier for washing hands in the morning when we do say a blessing, which were, we had the reason of cleanliness, because our hands are wandering all over our body during the night. And the reason of inaugurating the day, as did the priests when they entered the temple, and the reason of purifying us from tummy impurity, which was our brush with death while we slept. Here, however, with only the one reason, cleanliness, for washing, we're not sure the blessing is necessary, and therefore do not say it. We are very careful not to recite a blessing needlessly, because it is considered a recital of God's name in vain, which we do not want to do. And so therefore he said, tell us, make the other blessing certainly on the wonder of the body, but not on washing hands. And then he says in paragraph 3, one who passes urine and then forgets about it and then remembers it when he passes urine anew, he needs to recite Asher Yotzar, the blessing, twice. Now let's take a look at the next paragraph, where he says there is no specific amount of urinating required, because even if one urinates a single drop, one must bless this Asher Yotzar blessing, because one's opening may have been blocked from urinating that drop, and so it may have been difficult for him, and so he's required to give thanks. Because if you've ever had a stoppage, you know how worrisome and painful that can become. And it's always worthy, even for a small amount, of thanking God for the body working properly. God knows, to quote a phrase, how much we abuse ourselves. So the fact that it continues to work is certainly worthy of thanks. So my comment is, on the other hand, it is never too late for a thank you that should have been expressed but wasn't. We're talking about where you never made the blessing before, so now you're waiting for the next time. Every acknowledgement is appreciated, and this reminds us to behave the same way with fellow humans. In fact, the lesson is quite profound because it teaches us how to recover from an omission. The instruction was not to say the blessing as soon as we realize we had forgotten, but instead, wait for the next time and say the blessing twice. This teaches us that if we had forgotten to express thanks to someone, we should not try to make amends out of the blue, like, just run over them and say, apologies, whatever, because it may not be appreciated without context. Instead, we should wait for the next kindness and express thanks for this and also for the original, showing that we have not forgotten. And I think that would go down a lot better. So, the important thing is the reaction of the party you're speaking to, as opposed to your performance of the deed. So saying thank you, your parents taught you to say thank you, please and thank you. So you got in the habit, you say it, and you often don't mean much when you say it. And this sort of teaches you to mean something and make sure it registers. So now I noticed a lot of people are saying thank you so much, which somebody taught them to say, and it kind of registered the first few times I heard it. Oh, they were very grateful. That's nice. But now they say it all the time even if I did hardly anything, so it doesn't register anymore. So, it would be an interesting exercise to try and think of different ways to say thank you and mean it when you do it, because it really does make a difference. It establishes peace among people. But you have to invest it with some meaning. And this kind of this law about where you were thanking God and you forgot to say it, so you don't just run and say it not on the occasion of the gratitude, but you wait for the next moment of gratefulness, and then say it twice. So for a human person, you forgot if you're going to run into them, run over to them in the middle of the day or something and say, "Oh, you did something for me. Thank you." It's going to come. It's awkward. It's going to be awkward, and therefore not appreciated. But if you have this relationship with them and they do something else, you say, "Oh, again, you're doing me favors. I haven't still forgotten the one you did before." Well, what an impression you'll make with that. You shouldn't do it on purpose. Forget once, so you can make an impression next time. I don't know if that's the idea, um, but certainly to make an impression is very valuable, and not only on them but on yourself too, because you've taken the trouble to figure it out. So, okay, so that's finishing off that, and now before we start the next one, which gets into, I will just show you what it is. I've prepared it here. The next simon is get us into the subject of, come on up here, come on, show your face. I got too many things showing here. What's going on? There it is. Oh, this is something else. This is what I'm looking for. Here it is. Okay. So we'll put this Zoom daily, and bold it. What that shows up. Let's see. Okay. So we're at the beginning of this. Instructions, Ray, Don, and Tzitzis, the fringes, four-corner garment, which will be an interesting little essay. I have some insights into that and what it's all about and so on. So that'll be the next subject. But before we get into that, I got another ritual that I want to present to you because the time for it is coming up, and that is blowing the shofar Rosh Hashanah. The Jewish people, I would say most congregations have already started blowing shofar as a custom. It's a custom to blow the shofar, which is the ram's horn, every morning after services, to remind people, to alert people that the new year is coming, the day of judgment is coming. I call it a little different. We'll see. When God's judging the world, deciding what to do, and so on, and you stand to lose or gain a lot. So you want to prepare. You got a court case, and you want to make sure you've got your facts laid out properly, and you can make the best possible presentation. And however, while you're doing that, there is a mitzvah that Hashem gave us to the Jewish people to blow the shofar on Rosh Hashanah, and whether you understand it or not, because it is a ritual, it has to be done a certain way. It's an instruction. So if you're following instructions from the Almighty, then you can go wrong. You can always say, like, I got these things to my credit. But what I want to present is to see if we can make sense out of why this particular ritual was presented to us. So so first let's make sure everybody knows what I'm talking about. A second. That, can you hear me? This is a ram horn. It's the horn of a ram. Could be an antelope, that family of species, but not a cow or an ox. They have a different kind of horn. Or a rhinoceros, then those wouldn't be good. It has to be a kosher animal. A rhinoceros is not, and sheep and rams and so on are kosher animals. Cows are too, but they have a different kind of horn. So it has to be something like this. Now, and I'm the shofar blower in my congregation, and here's what you do. I'm not gonna blow it here because I want to wake my wife up, my neighbors, whatever. But we're told Here's what we do. We blow this ram's horn every day now with one long blast and then some short ones in the middle and then one long blast at the end. Right now in the custom, we keep it short, so we only blow a long blast goes about like this, as long as this. Toot. And then the middle ones are toot, 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 and then the long one again. Toot. That's all I blow every day. Now, the when Rosh Hashanah comes, we're going to do that again 3 times, several times. But when we do it 3 times in a row. Then we're going to change it, and in the middle broken sounds, we're going to first do just the short ones, not the tiny ones. So we're going to do the long one. Toot. Doesn't have to be that long because the long one has to cover whatever you're blowing in the middle. So then we'll do short, sort of like medium. Toot, toot, toot. And then the long one to cover it again. Toot. We'll do that 3 times. And then we do the real short one. So that's starting with the long one. Toot. And then this time 9, 3 times 3, 9 really perfunctory sounds. We belong to 9, but we're on 9. And then the long one again. Toot. At least as long as it took us to blow the short ones. And we do that 3 times. So that is the mitzvah of hearing the shofar. So somebody's got to blow it, but the mitzvah is to hear the shofar being blown. And like I say, so we have 3 versions. So how did this all develop? Well, it's a very interesting thing. There's 3 verses in the Torah. Here they are, the sources. Are you seeing 3 the sources on the screen? Okay. Leviticus 23:24, Leviticus 25:9, and Numbers 29:1. And each one of those, it says to blow the shofar. And I'm going to show you. Those. I have. Where's the? You see that? 23:24. It says on the first day of the 7th month, which is what's coming up. Now this is interesting. Even though we're calling this the new year, how complicated we get. The Torah is so full of information and data, and it's from different viewpoints and so on. So we consider the first month of the Jewish year the month of Pesach, Passover, when the Jewish people were formulated. They came out of Egypt, and springtime. The whole world is waking up with springtime, or at least in our section of the world. So that's called the first month. The 7th month is one we're coming up to, which is in the fall, but we call it the beginning of the year because it's the beginning of the year from another perspective. And indeed, the secular calendar follows somewhat. In the winter, they start off the new year. They didn't quite match us. So in usually September, sometime in September, it's called the Hebrew month of Tishrei. That's the 7th month in the Jewish calendar, and it's the beginning of the new year, the Day of Judgment. So it says way the Torah words it, the Torah never gives it these titles of Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur. It calls it the first day of the 7th month. You have a day of Sabbath rest as a sacred assembly, commemorated with trumpet blasts. And the word there for trumpet blast is trua. Then it says, then have the trumpet sounded everywhere in the 10th day of the 7th month. On the Day of Atonement, sound the trumpet throughout your land. But the Hebrew here is the way they translate is, then have the trumpet, which is this trumpet here, over there, that the word is shofar trua, 2 words. So the trua from the first is repeated here, and then sound the trumpet, there it only says shofar throughout your land. And then the third verse is on the first day of the seventh month. It's all the same, then have this term sounded everywhere on the 10th. Oh, sorry, this one is on the 10th day of the seventh month. That's the Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. And then on the first day of the seventh month, hold the sacred assembly, do no regular work. It is a day for you to sound the trumpets. Again, I use the word true. Okay, um, so really, the repetition here is trua. There's the Hebrew word trua here. It's over here, not here, and over here. So it's three circles, and it clears three times. So from there, the oral Torah comes along and tells us, you know what it's telling you? It's telling you to blow the shofar three times. The trua, say the trua three times, because you've got three verses. They'll tell it on the same day or a similar day. So blow it three times. Okay, that is fine. And so, but what happens then is the oral Torah comes along and says, well, every time you blow a trua, which is three, you blow a tekiah before and a tekiah afterwards. That's a long sound. Tekiah is the name of the long sound. So you blow a tekiah before and after. That's what I was describing to you. So there will be several of these, and so it's going to come out to look like that. So it's going to be 3 times 3 equals 9. Now, this question is, what is this true sound? And the difference is, it could be, there's different kinds of crying sounds. Some sounds are slow sighing, like a sigh, just a groan, and some are where is it over here? A catch your breath cry, where you can hardly catch your breath. So that's that little sound, and sometimes it's together, all in, as what's his name? Yeah, DiCaprio was one of his first great roles. I knew how to pronounce it. So, so there's the three versions of the thing. But before we got that, that was just that we forgot what it was. But actually, what you should realize is that in ancient Hebrew, they didn't pronounce the R the way we do in English. They pronounced it with a trill. So there was 3 R's in here. So it's really trua. Now to make the trill, right away the sound itself of the name, you kind of have to have three little sounds in there to get the trill out. So the sound itself is composed of a 3-part melody or concatenation or however you want to call it. So you have that the word true is indicating a 3-part sound, and it's said 3 times, and then you have a tekiah before and after. So you wind up having 3 times 9 is 27. But because we wound up forgetting what was the nature of that middle sound. Was it just the staccato small t-t-t, or was it the medium-sized ah? Because after all, the word trua is got an ah in there, true ah. So maybe it's that sound. So we're gonna duplicate them all, and we wound up having quite a few. And then because we have 3 sounds, we wound up doing it in 3 sets, and we did it 3 times during the day. So that wound up to give us quite a few sounds. So the day is almost permeated, or at least the whole service, which is one of the longest services of the year, is full of these 3-part sounds. Now, so we have we wind up because of the way we count them. There became a sort of a custom. Actually, it may be developed in the Middle Ages, but custom became because of all these things. They built one on a reason for this, a reason for that, etc. They wanted to say, hey, let's do 100. 100, nice round number. And so everybody became familiar with 100, and they kind of lost sight of these threes. So I discovered these trees. I didn't realize, maybe they knew in the old days, but I didn't discover these trees until, I mean, I was a shofar blower, and I certainly knew how to blow all the sounds in that, it was three parts. But never, the prominence of three never hit me until I started teaching it, and I went in and I had to present to the people and said, well, oh, you know why we blow three times? Because it said there's three verses, and then every time you blow a broken sound, you have to blow a full sound before and after, which makes it again three. Every one of the threes is itself three, and then the sound itself is composed of three parts, and so on. So like what I had to present to them was these threes are like all over the place, but they always come back to three. So that really surprised me because I didn't realize I'm blowing it. I didn't realize what the thing was. And so it just registered with me that God seems to like to hear three trills times three versions times instead of 327 times. So I used all kinds of cartoons for this and so on. But the thing that I really wound up uh, asking myself was why? Why so many threes? And I think that here's three red cars. I think in terms of the last one, of whether it's the staccato sound or the medium sound or the medium and staccato together, I think that what happened there was that may have been originally because there's 12 tribes, maybe everybody had their own um, middle sound. For them, this was their cry. And as they were exiled and mixed up and so on, so they forgot which one was which. Are you the racing car in the middle or the end or whatever? They all look the same and they all have the same features. So people forgot who they were, so to speak. So they just started replicating all the versions to make sure that they were hearing the traditional version for their particular tribe or group. But um, we have the same thing in very popular culture. Three sort of permeates our lives too. Here's the famous three of Seinfeld meeting up with another threesome. I mean, I don't think they realized that it was three. It was just that it was the same ideas. When you look at the world that we live in, it's full of threes because we live in a three-dimensional world, and we know we need three things to live. We need air to breathe. We need food to eat. We need water to drink. Um, we have three stages of materials that we encounter: as are solids, liquids, and gases. And that's the world we occupy. Time has three dimensions. We have the seasons, of course, for the year physically, and we have the sunrise, sunset. In the there's three parts here. I'm not getting it. There's also the moon, the cycles of the moon, and the sunrise, sunset for the days. That's the three physical aspects of time as our lives go on. A week is not a physical aspect; it's a made-up entity from the Torah, because God rested on the seventh day, but there's no physical aspect to it. So there's really only three experiences of time. And when we look at the sun and at the sky, we've always had the visualization of three: the sun, the moon, and the stars were three major things to see. We identified them as three parts in the sky. That was all you could see at night. And the colors in our printer, we can make any color we want out of three colors. Okay, you need black too, but we make everything out of three. So really, it's not only the Torah that with the shofar that introduced this saturation of threes for the one day, our whole life is saturated with threes, the way we live it. And it's fascinating to notice that it's only recently, let's say the last 100 years or 200 years, that we were able to discover that we live on the third planet from the sun. An irony, a hidden three that we didn't know before, but there it is. We're a third planet from the sun. Doesn't affect the way we live and everything, but it just fits in with the pattern of everything we find. So there's really something about these threes. The question is what? Why are there so many threes? So So that is the question I leave you with for the night is why is 3 the magic number that we repeat over and over again for Rosh Hashanah as we're entering into a new year, presumably a new lease on life. And God's asking us to blow the shofar 3 times in 3 ways, in three parts and 3 sounds, etc., which we do over and over and over and over again. What's the message? What's God's getting at? What's he trying to do with us? And that was the question that bothered me. And that's what I'm going to talk about next time we meet, how I discovered something very deep through that
Well, I look
question.
forward to hearing that, Rabbi. Sure. So that'll be on this Sunday.
Yeah, right.
Excellent. Yeah, I got a real busy day Sunday, but
Okay.
yeah,
All
looking
right.
forward to it.
Okay.
Yeah, and
what
Ronald messaged me. He's out for lunch in Australia, so he couldn't make the meeting today. So
all right. Well, the major thing is, so this information is available. I did do a YouTube video using those screens that I showed you, and I'll have Dan post the link to that after Sunday's presentation, so that anybody can go back and see it and invite any questions or comments or anything beforehand or afterwards, because there's really some really deep insights come out of this. And so feel free to inquire and to explore, because I may learn something more and add to it, because I think there's a whole mountain there to explore. And
yeah,
could
right on.
help.
Yeah, and sometimes it takes a thought to provoke more thoughts, and yeah, open a can of worms, if you will, per se, and yeah, get things moving. So if you have any questions out there, folks, feel free to drop them in the chat box, and I'll make sure they get to Rabbi. If not, you can email them at sbs447@gmail.com. That's Rabbi Schwartz's direct email. SBS, Sam Bob Sam, 447@gmail.com.
And Rabbi
Right,
put in the chat that there was 3 people on the Zoom this class. Good.
Well, that's okay. Better than none.
No,
And,
it's 3. It was very serendipitous.
Yeah. Thank you, Rabbi.
Okay.
no comments or questions, Robbie? You're good?
I'm good. I'm just going to be in thought on the 3s.
Right on. Right on. All right, Rabbi, so we're good for Sunday. We're aiming to be back Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. So till then, we're going to sign out for today, and Shabbat Shalom to everybody. Yeah, bye for now.
Be well.